I could introduce Jerry, but that would just be wasting our time. So you all know him, love him. Here he is, Jerry Adelmann.
Well, thank you, Jill, and thank all of you. Good afternoon and welcome. As has been said, for me, and I think for many of us, this has kind of become the reunion of the conservation community. I mean, there's so many wonderful friends, colleagues, partners, supporters of our work and of conservation in general. I only wish we had more time. I've had a chance to say hello to just a handful of you, and I know all of us love to network and share stories and come together at least this once a year from throughout the three-state region. And again, thank you all for coming and for your wonderful support. As I think most of you know, Openlands works within that Chicago wilderness footprint. The southern shore of Lake Michigan, northeastern Illinois, parts of Indiana, Wisconsin. It's a huge area and a very complicated area in terms of its politics. And so a not-for-profit with a regional focus often has a very special role to bring people together, across boundaries, and to begin to think about our web of green, this green infrastructure that connects all of us to nature here where we live, no matter what the scale may be it in Fuller Park or in our large landscape scale reserves. And so the only way we get that work done is through partners and through collaborators. And one of the best is Michael, and I just want to add my personal thanks and congratulations to him, his wife, and all of those at Eden Place who do such amazing things. He's become an icon for the movement. There's a danger there that he might stop doing the real work, but I'm not worried about that. And he really has inspired us, certainly locally, but nationally as well, and I know great things are ahead. And so thank you, Michael, for all you have done and will continue to do. This was a very busy and a very productive year for Openlands. I just want to showcase a few of the things that are significant milestones to give you a little flavor of the breadth and scope of what we do. You've heard about Tree Keepers and our 20th anniversary, and that's so significant. Another real milestone for us is the opening of our Openlands Lakeshore Preserve at the former Fort Sheridan, the southern part of the fort. We were involved in the early 90s in making sure that the open spaces of the northern historic part, which was redeveloped, went to the Lake County Forest Preserve District, over 250 acres. In 2003, we got a call from then Congressman Kirk, now Senator Kirk, saying we're going to redevelop the southern part, most of which had been transferred to the Navy. Great Lakes need additional housing. And will you work with us to find a public agency? Because even though, as Suzanne mentioned, we've been involved either directly or indirectly through our policy work in saving thousands of acres throughout this broad metropolitan area. Typically, we don't own and manage that property. We're interim property holders. We pass it on to the state, to the forest preserves, park districts, to other agencies. In this case, for various reasons, there wasn't a group that was able or willing at that time to step up and take title to this over mile of Michigan shoreline. Lake Michigan shoreline, I should say. And we went back to Congressman Kirk and said, we can't find anyone, although everyone says it must be done. And he said, if you don't do it, it'll be a gated community and there'll probably be high rises, built to that property. So we went back to the board and the board said, no, we've got to step up, and they did. And I think there are three main reasons. One is the incredible ecological significance of this over mile of Lake Michigan shoreline with its bluffs, ravines, and lakeshore. This is really the last frontier of restoration ecology. We know very little about these ravines, and yet they're home to many threatened and endangered plants. In fact, we've documented to date in our property that there are over 10 threatened and rare plants that have been identified, and we figure many more. Important habitat for migratory birds, just a very significant part of our natural landscape that needs to be protected. The second reason was access. In Illinois, we have approximately 60 miles of lakefront, about half in the city of Chicago. Thank goodness most of that is open to the public, and what an asset. I mean, it's the brand, if you want, of Chicago. It's our icon and image that inspires people from all over the world when they come here. But as you go north, most of that land is in private hands, or they're small local parks. So to have over a mile of lakeshore adjacent to Lake County Forest Preserve mile is really extraordinary. And access not just to this amazing landscape, but access to all people to use it as well. Early in September, we lost a very important board member, Harry Chandler Jr., who was such an advocate for people with disabilities. And so he, with other board members, felt that this is one of our important goals. And so we made sure that that upland trail is fully accessible to people with disabilities. And the third area of significance that we said we have to do this because of is the educational opportunity, unparalleled. And we've been working with about 20 schools from Waukegan down to the city of Chicago, 3rd to 5th graders, as well as high school students, developing model curriculum and site visits. But we've also been thinking about the signage and the public art and new technologies, ways to connect people to the land. That is the core of our mission. As Jill has pointed out, and I think is evident from all that you know about Openlands, is we're not just about saving the land, as important as it is. We want it to be accessible, and we want to connect people to nature, to recreational opportunities, to open spaces close to where they live. And so this has been a learning landscape for us. It's been very exciting. One of the things we developed are podcasts. And so if you haven't visited the Lakeshore Preserve, please do. But go to our website in the interim, and you'll see Openlands Lakeshore Preserve, and it'll give you all sorts of background and information, including these wonderful podcasts that really tell important stories about this site, the art, and the unique dimensions of it. But in terms of connecting people to the land at a landscape scale, there's another very powerful initiative that has gained great traction this year, and that's an effort to create the Chicago region's first national wildlife refuge called Hackmatack. Now that's an Indian word, means tamarack, and some of the last tamarack groves in our region are located within this area that kind of borders Illinois and Wisconsin. These are glacial landscapes, critical habitats, spectacular rolling topography, beautiful scenery, but it also is a proposal that would allow for people new recreational opportunities and economic opportunities for those communities that are located within this broad area. So it would be a mosaic of land, public and private, protected, connected with trails. And this past year, we've worked closely with our partners, the Friends of Hackmatack, which is a broad coalition, including many in this room, and the Trust for Public Land, and have increased the broad base of support for this effort. It includes local governments, hunting and fishing organizations, garden clubs, civic groups, chambers of commerce, and on. Really an extraordinary coalition that's come together. And we're very encouraged that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service feels positively about this effort. They're completing their feasibility study, and within the next couple of months, we'll be releasing some alternative scenarios looking at the exact footprint of this. And we hope actually by the end of 2012 that it will be officially designated by the Secretary of Interior. So keep watching this. We'll share that information with you, but we're very optimistic, and it'll be a huge addition to the wonderful green infrastructure of our metro area. It's been referenced by Michael and others about our work in the city of Chicago, and obviously it's the heart of this great metropolitan area, and we have a very long-standing and important commitment here, and work with many of the partners in this room and others developing these open space plans in neighborhoods that are underserved in terms of public open space, green space, like Fuller Park and so many others. And at the core of much of that work is working with schools. They're really the heart of neighborhoods. It's where people come together, families, and it's where our children are first introduced, to their future. And yet many of them have been hostile, concrete, asphalt, sort of environments. And so we've been working with Chicago Public Schools and many partners, greening those school campuses, in particular through building school gardens, developing school gardens at 37 schools to date in the city. And I'm very pleased to announce today a new partnership for Openlands with a relatively new national not-for-profit called the Kitchen Community. This is an organization based in Colorado. They've worked exclusively in Colorado until this year. They decided that they wanted to go national, and their main focus is developing learning gardens that are focused on food growing and nutrition education at schools. And they're partnering with us to do 6 schools in Chicago this coming year. We're the first city that they've taken on as they're broadening their program to become truly national, and they were very impressed with what we've been doing and how we've been doing it, so we were honored to be selected as their local partner. And, protecting the land also means caring for the land, maintaining the land. We've heard about tree keepers and our care for the urban forest, but it's also making sure that the ecological health of our open spaces and our important natural areas is maintained and restored. And there are multiple benefits to that. And so part of our work, a very important part, is restoring these important landscapes. We have a partnership with the Department of Aviation, the City of Chicago, through their O'Hare Modernization Program, to restore over 1,000 acres of wetlands, woodlands, and prairies throughout the region. We have several partners we're doing that with, both Cook and Will County Forest Preserve districts, but also the U.S. Forest Service, and that's at Medewan. And we're about to launch the 5th of these sites at Medewan, which is restoring over 200 acres that includes very rare dolomitic prairie and wetlands, about $1.5 million restoration effort. And this really continues our deep involvement and commitment to Medewan. We were instrumental as a leader in bringing together a broad coalition to create the Medewan National Tallgrass Prairie back in 1996, and it's a first for the nation as well. And we've continued to work with the U.S. Forest Service and partners in that region, acquiring more land, restoring streams, working with local governments to get good zoning in place, developing trails, and so forth. And most recently, the National Forest Foundation developed a master plan for the Medewan that would really accelerate the restoration work, but also the infrastructure, facilities for environmental education and the trail system. And we were one of the many partners developing that plan that was launched October 14th. So we're very excited about this ongoing and very important relationship with Medewan, and a number of our Medewan partners are with us today. There are so many other projects I'd love to share. We don't have the time. Go to our website, though, and if you aren't on our mailing list or you don't get our e-newsletters, sign up. You can do it there.